Okay, so we got the group sorted out, huh? Right. So that there will be one expert that will be kind of sitting next to you, just to make sure that you're if you have any questions or whatever. But they're not supposed to actually give any real input. It's your work, okay? So they'll obviously answer any questions and help guide you, but they're not to actually make any presentation or anything. You have to decide the work. And using what you have learned over the last 2 days, we need to make sure that everybody will give some input, and the discussions are very important. Oops. Okay, so you can decide on a project, any project, okay? Whatever you like, it's up to you. But you need to think about a short description. You need to think about what the carbon advantages of your project are and how you intend to prove this. You need to think about what the major barriers that you face on getting your project implemented. You need to think about what partners you need to have to get your project moving and help to implement it, and you need to think about how you intend to finance it, okay? So those 5 questions that you need to answer, and you have just half an hour to do it, and you have to decide on one of you just to make a short 7-10 minute presentation explaining your project and answering all these questions, okay? So, off you go. Right.
Yung pinakamalapit ang birthday siyang tapos.
Hindi, yun nga. Plano rin naman ang report.
May kamay strolling. May kamay strolling. Sa mga secondary.
Imagine magbibiyahe yung taga-Marikis. Lagyan mo na ako mga
Siyempre, local government.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. In respect to my senior citizens at the back, I was voted to present. So let me just introduce to you our group. Could I just ask my group mates to please stand? And so those are my group mates. So now in case you have any questions, you know who to direct your questions to. Alright, so we have a couple of assumptions before I introduce to you our project. Also, my groupmates allow me to make expansions on what we've talked about earlier. So we have a couple of assumptions in trying to come up with a project. Our first assumption is that we are all in one city. We come from different cities, and first we try to look at, sige, situate natin, let's situate ourselves in one city. So we all try to situate ourselves in Quezon City. Our second assumption is that we are all willing to utilize whatever is that we have come up with. So I think it's important kasi for the group, in order for you to really advocate for one thing, you're willing to actually use it or utilize it and be part of it. That's our second assumption. Our third assumption is that there are already existing practices to learn or model this from. It would be easier for us to roll it out. It's not really a new concept, but it's a viable concept for the city that we are in. That's our third assumption. And our fourth assumption is the possibility for local economic development. I mean, if we are going to look at an infrastructure building just for less carbon, I think there would also be an offset an offset advantage for local economic development for the city, para at least na offset yung ininvest mo doon, and that goes back to the city. So our project is no, we're gonna outlaw transport. No, that's not our project. I don't think that's viable. Our project is actually on bikes. we're trying to come up with we're trying to come up with a name, and this is just me. I don't know if my groups would agree. We call it Juan Pidal. Parang Jose Pidal. Pero we call it Juan Pidal. And then if you could see a mascot that looks like a rabbit and Viking, Juan Pedal. So basically, we're going to promote bike as a primary alternative mode of transport. We're not saying it's going to be the primary mode of transport, but the primary alternative mode of transport, bikes. Okay, so that's our project. Juan Pedal. Yeah. One is paano ba yun? If the US has John and Jane, we have one. Yes, one. And for the second question, what are the carbon advantages? Well, there is no fuel consumption. It's a bike. Ayun. So I don't.
No emission.
So can you, sorry, just explain to me then a little bit more about the project?
The
So it's bikes, I've got that. I was struggling with one and one.
One.
Okay.
The project is trying to advocate bikes as the primary alternative mode for transport.
Within the city.
Yes, within the city.
How do you do it? You put bike lanes,
Primary volume transport.
Yes.
bike parks.
You really mean primary, okay?
As an alternative.
Primary
Alternative mode. Yes. Because I don't think we could eliminate LRTs and jeepneys.
Okay. Alternative to the car.
Yes. And public transport and mass transport. Mode. Okay.
Okay, right. Now I understand the project.
Thank you. And can we, ayan, there is no fuel consumption.
Exactly, so there's lots of cars. Two spirals.
Okay.
It's easy and it's good.
And how do we intend to prove this? We're thinking of sampling, survey sampling. Perhaps we could ask the people who have actually used it before you were using bikes, what were you using, and then we're gonna juxtapose those data together, and then perhaps look at one street, and then look at where the bike lanes are, how many cars were passing along that street during this period, and then with the bikes already in place in the bike lanes and the advocacy rolled out, how many cars were now passing. So basically, we're gonna compare and contrast those data.
And these are your own bikes, so they are, everybody has to own a bike, that's the first thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I hear that you need to have also its own bike use, huh?
But then, as I've said earlier, one of our assumptions is for local economic development, and perhaps the LGU can perhaps roll out a project for bike rentals
Okay, so rentals maybe, yeah? Okay, good.
that could contribute
Maybe
to the
some-
LGU.
Yeah, or some microcredit,
yes.
something like that, yeah? Okay.
Okay. And the barriers, first would be infrastructure. So there are no bike lanes. So we have to put that in place. The second barrier would be the lack of concern of other motorists. Really now, even with the motorcycle lanes, jeepney drivers do not seem to, they think they have a blind side on the road. They do not seem to respect lanes. And then the third barrier would be social acceptability. Biking would require physical effort, and
So how might you think of overcoming that barrier?
group dates.
Group?
How are we going to overcome those barriers? Basically.
Social acceptability one.
Basically, the first thing that came out with our discussion is a really intensive education campaign on the benefits of biking to not we'll try to have the benefits first to one's to an individual rather than the collective benefit. So we're gonna work into telling the individual first what will you benefit from this, and then after collectively what will our community benefit from this. And then the default barrier of any project is the lack of political will. So we are yet to give a very convincing proposal to the local government unit on why they need to establish, let's say, a bikeable city.
So has anyone ever seen a politician on a bike?
Yes, I did.
So it does happen.
Yeah, Senator Pia Cayetano.
And who's the congressman who goes to Congress?
Why could I?
Ayun.
We have one congressman who likes to congress.
So I guess we have a champion
Press
today
release.
for that.
So you have already, yesterday when I asked who are the champions, nobody could come up with a name. So I'm really pleased that today we've got a name at least. So he's obviously on your radars to send lots of information to and really get him involved because it can make him look very good. Yes. Okay.
Especially with the 2013 elections.
The elections, yes, okay. Right.
Now with the partners, we're really looking into multi-sectoral. So we have the LGU, we have private partners, CSOs, civil society organizations, and then the national government, and the media. The media. Again, we feel that the media plays a very influential role in trying to convince people to convert into bikes. And financing, it's gonna be a mix again of loans, local funds, and grants. The group specifically mentioned GEF and ADB. Local funds. Also, we can perhaps tap into public-private partnerships. Perhaps a private partner can develop the bike lanes and they can perhaps produce also the bikes.
Okay, so how easy or difficult do you think that's going to be?
On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the hardest, how difficult or easy would it be? 1 to 5, 5 being the hardest, how easy or difficult would it be for us to finance the project?
Not to finance.
I know,
To
to
implement.
Oh, yeah.
Financing money.
Well, to implement it, yeah.
4. So
So
it's almost hard.
it's really big challenge.
It's a really big challenge.
1 to 5.
2. 1 is the easiest. So 2. So we find it relatively easy to implement.
Okay, so we put this as perfect. Thank you. Great. Any questions? Any questions from any of the other groups? Questions or clarification? Good. No. Okay. Very good. Before you go, before you run. So, there you are. Number 3. Number 3.
Yes, hello, good afternoon everyone. So we are the group 3. Actually, we came up into a lot of project proposals, actually 5 project proposals, and we we try to consolidate it into one project. So we came up into, no, sorry, and our host city is Malabon City. So because of narrow road and its geographical situation is prone to flooding and also near to shore, that's why there's a flooding. So our project is electric minibus. Okay. So,
With the flood?
and so, yes, why? We need to, yes, yes. Because of flooding, so their mode of transportation is through tricycle and jeepneys. Tricycles and jeepneys, when tricycles and jeepneys are prone to, they can,
Low flooring.
okay, low flooring. That's why when okay, during flood, ay magtatagalog na ako. Okay, sa flooding po, yung tricycles, ang tawag doon, mababa po yung flooring nila. That's why, prone sila, madali pong abutin, hindi na sila makaandar pag tumaas na po yung tubig. While minibus or yung electric minibus is kaya pa po niyan tumakbo, hindi siya aabutin ng water. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya ganun ka-prone into flooding. Kasi medyo mataas po siya, pero hindi siya ganun kalaki like the bus. Which is, ang magiging, tawag dito, ang magiging major problem kasi sa bus is narrow nga po yung road. Okay, narrow road kasi sila. That's why ang pinaka-solution into flooding for transportation is the electric minibus or the minibus. So, it is better than jeepneys or tricycles. Okay, thank you. So, major barriers is opposition from displaced barriers.
Carbon advantage.
Okay. Carbon advantages. So, this will consist of 0.4. Okay, 0.4 kilo.
Emission factor. Emission
It's a lower carbon, it's a low carbon mode.
Okay.
Emission
So,
factor.
When compared,
on one condition, that the electricity is produced by sustainable means.
well, we are certain because our energy mix is more than 60% renewable.
Okay, so that's fine. Because you're low carbon, but you just have to reflect on it. Okay.
Justified because
Taken from the lectures.
While yung jeepneys and tricycles kasi is consist of 2.7 carbon and a kilogram per liter carbon, and yung tricycles is 2.3 liter per carbon per liter. Then method of our method is through survey. Am I right, sir? Through survey, yung ating method.
method of
How do you prove the
How do you
carbon?
prove the carbon calculation?
Baseline.
So you would be looking at
We have a
people that have shifted from the
Yes.
jeepneys and the tricycles onto your electric minibus.
Yes.
Okay.
So gather
because
baseline data.
it will be mandated.
Oh, mandated. So
Yes.
there's no choice.
That's why our major barriers is the disposition of this group.
Displays
Okay.
Yes, displaced tricycle drivers and jeepney drivers.
All trips.
Yes.
To EVs.
confined within
Okay,
one
so your barriers are the displaced.
Space work.
So this minibus is confined only in Malabon City. And we have stations which can connect to another city.
another mode of transport.
Okay, and so they can ride another mode of transportation to get to another city. And then, for finance, okay, our partners is local government, private companies, banks, and multilateral banks. Then for, yes.
Almost all financing institution.
So what sort of business case are you going to give them?
Again,
What sort of business case are you going to give them? So you're going to say, we want to go to electric minibuses. How are you going to present this to the banks? In just very quick kind of terms.
cooperatives.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we will form the displaced
transport
Drivers.
sectors into a cooperative. And then, yes, and then they can go into businesses like owning a owning an electric, owning the electric,
Charging.
the bus mismo, and then have a charging station where they will do a swapping of batteries.
So you need really a lot of help with the finance, huh?
Well,
It could be done. It's not,
Yes.
you know.
well, we somehow assumed that
We assume that this is going to serve a specific number of constituency, and we also assume that we will be able to measure more or less the carbon emission per capita and put a value to it, and we will be able to show that this is a very expensive carbon dioxide, and we're gonna replace it with a lower carbon cost, carbon value via the electric EVs, making it now a very interesting and very exciting and very affordable mode that the constituency can afford to patronize. So the financing will then pave the way for its viability because there is a captured market, so to speak. No? So we assume that we will serve at least 1/3 of the total population of the city, which is 100,000
Yes, 100,000.
thereabouts.
And to add, this will also complement bikeways and sidewalks, so widening of sidewalks, this project.
Because as it is, the inefficiency of the current system makes it very expensive and very carbon heavy emission, and will show that by efficiency and replacing the mode will make it cheaper.
That's
So I
all.
just kind of put self-financing sort of arrangement, serving about 1/3 of the population. Yeah? Okay, so that captures, thank you, okay.
How hard? The green fund.
Okay, so
finance.
financing with the green, the carbon green fund.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the climate green fund.
How hard? Aren't we going to rate how hard it is?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
How hard is this going to be?
How hard is it going to be?
How hard is this going to be, huh?
I think 5.
How hard does the group think it's going to be?
Maybe 3 out of 5 because I think people are inconvenienced by the present setup where you have a lot of jeepneys and tricycles and it's crowded and it's hard to take transportation, especially when it's flooding. So I think they will be open to this kind of arrangement.
Okay, so, great.
Can
Okay,
I make a
wonderful.
comment?
Huh? So
Can I
let's,
make a comment?
yes.
In Malabon, don't you think it's better to have gondolas rather than minibuses? Electric gondolas.
We're not going to comment on the choice projects. Everyone is free to do their own projects, okay? Right, so were there any points of clarification apart from that we should have chosen gondolas instead?
Amphibious, when there's no flooding, you have tires. When there's flooding, they're
You'll turn the tires, make them amphibious. Okay, amphibious electric vehicles. Okay, even better. So, somebody please, can you take one or the other? Yeah.
Oh,
No.
us.
Okay, that's perfect.
Good afternoon. In the other groups, the seniors told the younger ones to report. In our group, the younger ones told the senior to report. So anyway, in our group, we are from several places. One from Sri Lanka, one advocate of biking, and we had an ADB expert. We had one from Mandaluyong who is into electric tricycles, and 2 from Cainta who would like to do anti-smoke belching. Because they are two, they won. So our project is empowering the ASBUS. ASBUS means the anti-smoke belching units of Cainta. And the project is capacity building for Cainta ASBU team to strengthen implementation of Republic Act 8749 or the Clean Air Act. The ASBU in Cainta started in February 2012, just very recently, with 14 team members, and they were trained by DENR, EMB, and ECAP as far back as 2009. Next. So the strategies that they would like to employ for the project will be to ask for incentives. What do they want? They want percentage from penalty fees that are collected, and they want proper equipment and uniform, like a gas mask to conserve, to help them from the air pollution. Now, what are the carbon advantages? By their team and by the efficiency of their team, they will lessen the carbon dioxide emissions through efficient testing of the vehicles that fly Cainta. What are the major barriers? The corruption of ASBU teams in other cities. Like they say, even if we make a good testing in our own place, if in the other places there is corruption, just by the payment of 500, they will pass. What can we do? So that's their major barrier. Their lack of mobility to implement their operations. They still lack equipment and facilities. So they have inadequate and obsolete equipment. They have only one equipment that is already obsolete and which they borrowed from the VEPSI. VEPSI. Yeah. So that is the major barrier. Next. Now the partners that they need, of course, they acknowledge that EMB of the ENR is a big help, DOTC and LTO and the LGUs, and of course the NGOs like the Partnership for Clean Air. Yeah, they said that. Next. So financing, they will access their own LGU budgets through the local ordinance of their Sangguniang Bayan, and they will access also funding from MMDA. So they will not borrow anything, no loan. No loans. No loans from ADB. Next. So I think that's the end.
What was your method? So it's just through technology, isn't it?
Method of carbon calculation and through the emission testing equipment.
So the emission testing equipment does it at the moment. How does it test CO2?
Concentration of CO2.
Concentration of CO2.
Because it's a different way of testing it when you're...
By concentration, ma'am.
Okay.
Concentration.
So
Of
concentration.
the opacimeter.
Okay.
I think our equipment
As well as other local air pollution. Okay. Okay, so how difficult do you think this is?
3.
3. You decided 3.
Okay.
Very good. Any questions from the floor? Any points of clarification? Yes.
Well, it may be misconstrued. It's a good project. Maybe misconstrued that the effort is for capturing pollution or checking on pollution. But on the other hand, when one apprehends for smoke belching, we are almost certain that efficiency in combustion is assured by law. And efficiency in combustion equates to better combustion, lowering the carbon dioxide emission if the engine is efficient. The mileage is increased and the mileage is improved. So it's a worthwhile project.
Oh, wow. Very good. Okay. So, now number 4 has got to...
daw. Palakpak na lang sila. So, acknowledge ko lang po yung aking groupmates, Sir Rene and Sir Elmer from DOH, Sir Jesling and Sir Mark from LGUQC, Sir Alfred and Sir Joseph from Caloocan, and Sir James from Coas. So our project is called Monorail Systems. So basically, this project aims to build railways that will, similar to LRT, electric-driven motors, trains, but it will be interconnected into our existing LRT MRT stations. The site is maybe probably in Commonwealth, from EDSA to Commonwealth, or maybe C5. Basta po ma-interconnect siya sa mga major LRT MRT stations. Yes. And they added, we will adopt the stations of this monorail system will integrate parking areas for example, bikes. So carbon advantages, reduced number of vehicles. So it means also reduce CO2 emissions and improve traffic conditions. So that means less fuel usage. So method of carbon calculation. Maybe during the planning stage of the project, we can do baselining. Maybe estimate the number of vehicles flying with that certain road. And then after the project is done, maybe we can start doing data gathering, comparing the baseline to the current data. So, barriers namin, political will, displacement of motorized public transport, of yung jeepneys, jeepney drivers, bus drivers. Hindi naman siguro lahat, but some of it. Social acceptability, and yung cost of transport. Because we can assure that I think it will be dependent on the cost of electricity, because it is electricity driven. So, yeah. Our partners will be DOTC, MMDA, DPWH, LGUs, NGOs, LTO, DOE, DOST, NEDA. Financial schemes, private-public partnership, and yung siguro yung loan from ADB or GEF.
Danielle, you can be the independent jury. Independent jury. Okay, so if you could just note down the vote. So it's not going to be a silent vote. You have to a show of hands then for project number 1. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Somebody's putting up 2 hands. So project 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 I have for project 2. Project 3. Oh. 3. No one's voting for 3. Okay. Not even the group that worked on it voted for it. It doesn't look so good. Okay, we have 2 for Project 3. Project 3. 4. We've managed to scrape 4 together. Okay, so Project 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Okay. Well, we certainly have a clear winner, that's for sure, don't we? So, I can hand out some money to the clear winner. So, Project 1, where was Project 1? Oh yes.